Hey, how's it going? Hope all is fantastic. Let's begin. Today we're going to talk about some interesting science within the past 20 years. For start, mini brains grown in a lab from stem cells spontaneously developed eye structures, scientists reported in 2021. On tiny human-derived brain organoids grown in dishes, two symmetrical optic cups started to develop, mirroring the structures of eyes. This incredible result will help us understand process of eye development as well as eye disease as well. According to some neuroscientists, these organoids can help to study brain-eye interactions during embryo development, model cognitive abilities and retinal disorders, and generate patient-specific cells also to help rejuvenate eyesight. Brain organoids are not true brains, as one might think. They are actually small three-dimensional structures grown from stem cells and harvested from adult humans and reverse engineered into stem cells that have the potential to grow into many different types of tissues. Not your Kleenex. In this case, these stem cells are coaxed to grow the blobs of brain tissue without anything resembling, though, emotions or consciousness. Such mini brains are used for research purposes, where using actually living brains would be impossible since it would be a little frowned upon. An approach that has been simultaneously the most promising and the least successful is developing human organs in animals. But new research from scientists at the Stanford School of Medicine and their collaborators laid the very primarily groundwork of this technique. Scientists also have organ regeneration in mind as well. To show that such an approach is feasible, one would need to demonstrate that human stem cells, which grow into specialized cells and parts of the body include organs, could survive within the early embryo of an animal, which acts of such of a biological machine. The options for developing those cells were appropriately limited. Laws in the US and scientifically ethics law carefully prohibit the option of experimenting with a mixture of two genetically different species. Instead, the team has turned to the cells of non-human primates to act as a proxy. The scientists said, "We're using chimpanzee cells to study because we know they are very closely genetically identical. We show that chimpanzee stem cells can survive in a different animal." Scientists have been chasing the prospect of generating human organs in animals for many years. Many even consider it the holy grail of living forever. Using a person's own stem cell to grow, say, a new liver, would circumvent any possibility of rejection, as the new tissue would reflect their natural biological makeup, and it would remove the often long wait time for a transplant. Nakara is a pioneer in long-term organ generation techniques. In his early work, he had demonstrated that it is possible to create a rat pancreas in a mouse. His team also then showed that the organs generated inside the body of another species can be transplanted back to the original species without rejection. If the principle were to work between humans and animals, we could reproduce human organs in animals anytime we wanted. Another interesting thing, lab-grown brain cells learned to play Pong was groundbreaking technique, hugely popular when it was released in 1972. Fast forward 50 years and the game has been mastered by something different, remarkably incredible. That's because human brain cells grown in a lab have been shown to be able to move a paddle vertically across the screen to hit the ball. Researchers from Melbourne-based startup labs proved for the first time that 800,000 brain cells can perform goal-directed tasks, in this case, Pong. Researchers from Melbourne-based startup company for the first time that 800,000 brain cells can perform goal tasks, such as Pong. Findings suggest that even brain cells in a petri dish can exhibit inherent intelligence modifying their behavior over time. This new capacity to teach cell cultures to perform a task which they exhibit by controlling the paddle to return the ball via sensing, opening up a new discovery possibilities, which we have far-reaching consequences for technology, health, and society. Another discovery that is quite fascinating. A new and exciting discovery was a fossil was discovered the day the dinosaurs died, about 66 million years ago. Sorry for people who don't believe that dinosaurs were around back then, but it is true. In April, paleontologists revealed that they had unearthed the first ever fossilized remain of a dinosaur that was killed on the day of a massive asteroid struck Earth 66 million years ago. The leg of the dinosaur, a small herbivore, was discovered alongside a fragment of the 7-mile-wide space rock that killed it. Experts believe the limb completely ripped off when the Shaluska asteroid hit, and then buried it in a fallen debris on the day of impact. The fossilized leg was unearthed alongside a series of remarkable finds to the fossil site in the U.S. state of North Dakota known as the Hell Creek Formation. The site, which was first discovered in 2008, is extraordinarily because it appears to be recorded the events from the first minutes until a few hours after the impact of the Trilus asteroid in extreme detail. Paleontologists said it was the first discovery of a dinosaur victim from the famous asteroid strike, which left a 93-mile wide impact crater in what today would be Gulf of Mexico. Another discovery: physicists repeat a nuclear fusion feat over the summer. Scientists said that they had liberated more energy from a popcorn-sized capsule than they had beamed in with a set of lasers. A repeat of the feat they had announced the first time was in 2022. Fusion is a clean source of material. The fuel is a resource that is cheap and you can reuse at any time. There is no risk of meltdown either. The fact that humanity has finally captured the power source of the stars surely will go down in history. The dark side is these achievements use a facility whose primary purpose is a test of weapons designed to kill millions of people. The clean energy hopes for a secondary answer. The National Ignition Facility, located in Livermore, is supposed embedded in the nuclear weapons industry that some physicists say we'd be better off investing in projects aimed exactly at the providing clean energy. A nuclear war would cause vast more catastrophe, climate change, than fossil fuel itself. But the Livermore feat has given us a better understanding of the physics of fusion and a surge in funding for fusion energy. Today, there are at least 30 startups working on nuclear fusion using billions of dollars in private money and government grants as well. Some would call them as long shots, but the need for clean energy for replacing as much as anything needed for cleaning the world of the grossness of fossil fuel. And we all love dinosaurs as well, so we don't want to burn them up again. Early arrival of humans may need to be changed. In the Americas, demand a rethink of history. Sometime in the prehistoric past, 2 adults and a child left a trail of footprints in the mud near now white sands. A new analysis of quartz grains and pollen showed that they took this walk between 21,000 to 23,000 years ago, before humans were thought to have reached America at all. For years, the textbook story held that people first came to the Americas between 16,000 and 14,000 years ago, crossing a land bridge between Siberia and Alaska. The oldest established artifacts from the Clovis site in New Mexico date back to 13,500 years ago. Over recent years, claims of earlier artifacts have been raised through nothing but an interesting cause, and as carefully dated and undoubtedly human footprints have been discovered. The new dates were already leaving New Mexico during the peak of the last ice age. Over recent years, claims of earlier artifacts have been raised through nothing has been quite as carefully dated, and undisputedly human footprints were discovered as well. The new dates would mean people were already living in New Mexico during the peak of the last ice age. Figuring out how they arrived will require some new thinking. Researchers from Oxford have proposed that they got here by boat or walked on water. If the footprint dates hold up, this or some other drastic details, story will become the new common knowledge amongst people. The new telescope, James Webb, helps us see the universe when it was young. Astronomers estimate that our universe is about 13.7 billion years old. And because distant objects appear as they did long ago, astronomers have been able to see back to about the first billion years. But that long-hidden first billion years was important. That's when the stars and galaxies were lighting up and assembling themselves. In 2023, James Webb Space Telescope started sending images from the formative time frame. The telescope has shown us fragments of primitive galaxies. David Spergel, president of the Simmons Foundation, the most interesting find from this era is the oldest supermassive black hole ever discovered. It resides in a galaxy called UHZ-1, which appears as it did 13.2 billion years ago, and 470 million years after the Big Bang. The black hole is comparable in the mass to the whole rest of the galaxy combined, said Spiegel. That's surprising since the black hole in the center of our galaxy consists just 0.5% of the galaxy's mass. The finding could help astronomers understand how supermassive black holes form and their role in shaping the rest of the universe. Good job, James Webb Telescope. Reading the minds of severely paralyzed people. In May, scientists announced that they learned to decode people's thoughts from brain scans. with an AI system as an interpreter. The findings, which described could restore the ability to communicate in people who are so profoundly paralyzed that they can't speak or write. This so-called locked-in syndrome happens for various reasons, especially strokes or neurological diseases. When the condition is temporary, people sometimes describe a harrowing ordeal. One man remembers being frozen in place while his wife and a doctor debated whether to remove life support and let him die. In the new system, published in Nature Neuroscience, the researchers had volunteers lie in a brain scanner while listening to podcasts. The AI system analyzed connections between the brain scan patterns and their words. Eventually, the AI could turn brain patterns into words. When the subject heard, "I don't have my driver's license yet," the system read the brain to say, "She hasn't even started learning how to drive." The translation was imperfect, but still eerily accurate. For those who find themselves trapped in frozen bodies, this could be a powerful tool to restore the ability to communicate again. Thank goodness. Now we just need one for ghosts. Intelligent life is found on Earth. A new study released in November toppled the myth that only humans can imagine the past and future, while animals live in the moment. Rats, it turns out, can imagine and plan ahead. The newest findings may explain observations of city rats bringing slices of pizza into subway cars, where they can eat away from other hungry rats. Clever. The last 10 years have brought a shift in how humanity sees other animals, with a wealth of findings showing that many kinds of creatures can think, like octopi, reason and solve problems in a way once believed to be unique to humans. That now includes farm animals. One study shows pigs are empathetic enough to free trapped companions. Cows were potty trained, a finding that showed that they have a body awareness, also thought to be beyond them. Goats understand what it means when humans point at things. Humans dream of finding intelligent life in the cosmos, but our experiences here on Earth show we're not as good as recognize it when it's right in front of us. The year began with a big bang last year, scientifically, when just a week into it, a dying man became the first patient in the world to get a heart transplant from a genetically modified pig. Oink oink. Terminally heart disease sufferer David Bennett underwent the 9-hour experimental procedure at the University of Maryland Medical Center in Baltimore. Surgeons used a heart taken from a pig that had undergone gene editing to make it less likely that his body's immune system would reject the heart or the organ. Mr. Bennett survived initially, but his condition began to deteriorate 2 months after, and then passed away at the age of 57. He had said he knew the procedure was a shot in the dark, but he took his chances anyway. Despite what happened, doctors nevertheless had called the procedure a watershed event for the world of medicine. Armageddon and Deep Impact may have been Hollywood disaster movies, but it turns out the science behind them might not have been so far-fetched. That's because in last year, scientists managed to successfully execute the first ever planetary defense test by knocking an asteroid slightly off its course. The Double Asteroid Redirector Test, or DART, mission saw a spacecraft initially crash into an asteroid moonlet in the double asteroid system of Didymus, some 7 million miles away. It was the world's first test of a kinetic impact technique using an object to deflect an asteroid that posed no threat to Earth and modifying it into another orbit. Before the collision, it took roughly 11 hours and 55 minutes to circle its bigger partner. However, they reduced by 32 minutes to 11 hours and 23 minutes following the impact. The hope is that it could one day work as a strategy for defending off other asteroids. Hopefully that one asteroid that they hit doesn't come to hit us on accident. Synthetic biology has the potential to redefine synthetic pathways by using engineered biology systems or microorganisms for which are a large part of the genome or the entire genome has been designed or engineered to manufacture a range of biomolecules and materials such as therapeutics, flavors, fabrics, food, and fuels. Mouthful. For example, insulin could be processed without pig pancreas, leather without cows, and spider silk without spiders. The potential in life sciences alone is unbelievably remarkable. But when applied to manufacturers, industries, synthetic biology can minimize future supply chain challenges, increasing efficiency and create new opportunities for biopolymers or alternative materials with more sustainable approaches. Today teams use AI-based modeling and Crimson tools in synthetic genetic circuits to control metabolism, manipulate gene expression, and build pathways for bioproduction. As this discipline begins to cross over into multiple industries, the latest developments and emerging trends for metabolic control and engineering challenges are in showcase in a 2022 Journal of Biotechnology article. Yes. Limb loss is projected to affect over 3.6 million individuals per year by 2050. For the longest time, scientists believe the single biggest key to limb regeneration is the presence of nerves. However, work done by Dr. Minko and his team demonstrated the importance of mechanical load to dig up regeneration in mammals, and that absence of a nerve does not inhibit regeneration. The advancement of limb regeneration was also an achievement by researchers at Tufts University, who have used acute multi-drug delivery via a wearable bioreactor to successfully enable long-term limb regeneration just like a frog. This early success could potentially lead to larger, more complex tissue re-engineering advances for humans as well, eventually benefiting military vets, disability people, and other impacted amputation from people who had trauma. Exciting. Now you can all be Deadpool. It seems our tongue might be more capable than we originally realized. A research team from Philly has suggested that receptor cells in the tongue are able to detect odors and smells. Their work is prompting experts to reassess whether taste and smell are combined by the brain alone, or if there is some level of association between the two. The group, whose findings were published in the journal Chemical Senses, began by experimenting with the receptors in genetically modified mice. Following this, they moved on to cells in humans which displayed similar properties to mice and were found to respond to compounds that were similar. For now, it is far too far to think of any conclusion of this matter, but it is quite interesting to say the least. It may even give people a more idea of some foods could reduce sugar intake as well by altering their taste buds. After decades of scoring the cosmos, experts have successfully detected the compound helium hydride, thought to be the first molecule formed in the history of the universe, due to the structure effects of the Earth's atmosphere. Researchers decided to take to the skies to mark their landmark discovery. The Stratosphere Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, an airborne built into modified Boeing 747, was able to pick up infrared signals from the prehistoric molecule in a period dubbed the dawn of chemistry. Around 100,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe had cooled to a low enough temperature that particles began to interact with themselves. In this era, when light atoms and molecules first came into being, it was helium hydride that paved the way for far more interstellar structures to come, sort of like Facebook. By continuing the investigation, the molecule researchers are able to explore the expansion of the universe in its early stages of being a baby. Another strand has been added to the history of human evolution. Remnants of an extinct relative has been found in the Calao cave on the island of Luzon in Philippines. The primitive species, known as Homo lopsans, is said to have resembled modern humans in some respects, but in other aspects, ancient ape-like ancestors. On top of that, they have been thought to be competent climbers. As indicated by the curved bones in their fingers and toes, the discovery poses a number of questions about the long and complex history of our species. With only 13 teeth and bones on which to base their hypothesis, experts remain in the dark as to how this new form of human existed in the first place, and when it did as well. A team of neuroscientists from the Yale University School of Medicine have demonstrated that in part it is possible to revive a pig's brain hours after death. They're pioneering a new system, BrainX, has restored a number of basic functions to over 30 dead brains, such as the ability to absorb sugars and oxygen. The technology involved in BrainX systems sends an oxygen-rich solution pulsing through the pig's gray matter. This fluid partially revives the cells for the maximum of 6 hours, while also slowing down the process of degeneration after death. However, the brains are, by definition, still dead. There's no evidence of consciousness being reinstated, sort of like a zombie. This highly advanced research presents an ethical quandary over whether it is correct to experiment on semi-living things. The National Institute of Health has been discussing the implications of BrainX since 2016 via their neuroethics working group and are wary of the possibility consequences of what may come with using it in humans. Organ transplants may soon become a thing of the past. For years, scientists have strove to create fully functioning artificial organs to address significant death of donors. The dream is now one step closer, courtesy of Dr. Ali Erchwak and his colleagues at the Ludwig Maximus University in Munich. The team has successfully developed a technique to fashion transport human organs with an aim to further understand their elaborate inner structures. Organic solvents are used to remove fats and pigments without disturbing any of the tissue underneath. The uncovered organs can be explored in a detail using a laser scanner, which allows scientists to build a complete reconstruction of the body part itself. These scans can be used as blueprints to produce a 3D biological replica of the organ. The team hopes to have constructed a 3D printed kidney by 2025. Exciting! By stimulating the brain with electrical pulses, scientists are able to temporarily offset the effects of memory loss. With age, vital consciousness networks in the brain began to lose their synchronicity over time. This leads to degeneration of working memory, to short-term loss, and even Alzheimer's. In tasks like facial reconstruction, now neuroscientists have found that non-invasive electrical stimulation appears to improve the connections between networks itself. The researchers reported that a study group of 60 to 76-year-olds performed significantly better in a series of working memory tasks after around half an hour of pulse treatment. Exciting for memory people. I forgot what I just said. In a breakthrough movement for a new baby born in Greece, it had been born with 3 DNA structures. The newborn baby was conceived using the mitochondrial donation technique, in which the structure of the mother's egg is modified slightly using a second donor egg. During the technique, the tiny floating structure that provide power to the cell from the mother's egg are replaced by that of a donor, while the vast majority of the baby's genetic material had been passed down from his parents. An extremely small amount of his DNA, around 0.2%, originates from the donor itself. Doctors claim that this is the first time that the donation has been applied to combat fertility issues. Spanish embryologist has labeled the healthy birth a revolutionary assist to reproduction, and claims that it has the potential to help would-be mothers in the future from diseases and so forth. However, critics of the treatment are warning women to proceed with caution. Reproductive expert Tim Child has explained how little is known about the risks or benefits of this technique, dismissing Borg's claim as unfound evidence as well. Well, wasn't that quite fascinating? Are you still with me? Are you still awake? Congrats if you made it all the way at this end of this video. Hope you like and subscribe to this, and have a great one. Bye.